In today's video, we're going to be interviewing a e-commerce expert, Nik Armenis. Let's go. Hey everyone, just before we get into this fantastic interview with my great friend Nik, be sure to subscribe if you want more weekly content. Hit that like to help with the growth of my channel, I very much appreciate it. And comment down below if you want more of these videos, really try and make them as value packed as possible. Without further ado, let's get straight into the interview. Hey everyone, Ricky Hayes here, and a very, very exciting video. One of my great friends in the e-commerce space, Nik Armenis, is taking time out of his busy day to have an interview here. It's really, really exciting. Nik is a fellow Australian up in Queensland. He absolutely crushes it. He has a digital marketing agency. He has his own stores and he mentors people around the world, just to name a few. So it's a pleasure to have Nik on the show. Nik's been someone that's been very influential in my success personally, being very supportive of me through the highs and lows, taught me a huge amount, and I'm sure you're going to learn an absolute butt ton today. So it's a pleasure to have you on the show, Nik.
It's a pleasure to be here, man, and the feelings are mutual. Definitely learn a lot from you myself, and it's always good to have someone to bounce ideas off. Hey, I've always enjoyed the chats we've had, so it's been really good. Thanks, man.
There's not many Aussies in our space that sort of are actually YouTubers and that as well. So for people who are interested, Nik has a lot of YouTube content on his channel, and there'll be a link down below. His is more on Google Ads. So Nik, just so people understand a bit more about you, tell me who you are, what you do, what your speciality is, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, sure. So my speciality is simple. So it's Google Ads and mainly for e-commerce. I do play around in non-e-commerce as well when it's something interesting like fintech or something like that, or some larger space kind of clients. In stuff that mainly interests me now, I guess I've got the privilege where I can now kind of pick and choose the work I take on. And yeah, have had a lot of my own stores in the past and currently have several stores as well. Mainly, my main one at the moment is an Australian-based store that has products sourced here. But I also still have a US-based store, and I do like to do revenue share agreements with a lot of my clients, especially international ones, because I find that it's a win-win, and we can come in there and add some serious sales to their existing store through the Google network. And as you know, like Google's great for that. Like, I mean, you can jump in and add $100,000, $200,000 to a store if they're already doing significant volume and quite quickly and easily. And so it's great to be able to add that value so fast to people. And yeah, like I said, it's mainly the e-commerce space, and Google's got some really, really cool stuff coming out. I'm sure you keep up to date with it too. I just jumped off a call with some pretty senior people in Google Asia Pacific, and they're just showing me some awesome stuff coming along, like a lot more visual even within the search base. So I'm not sure if you've seen the beta version of search image ads that are popping up. So the exact name escapes me, but basically you'll be able to do a search ad with an actual image there as well. So separate to shopping. Yeah. So it's really cool. Especially if you've got something that's quite visual, you can jump in there.
So is that aimed at e-commerce businesses?
Definitely. Yeah, well, it's aimed across the board, but particularly I've got quite a large business. It's actually an 8-figure business, believe it or not, who I run their Google Ads. And I actually managed to take that off a large agency in London. So I feel pretty privileged to be able to have done that. And I'm going to be testing that in beta with them. So, hopefully I'll release some stuff on that. Yeah.
A lot of these agencies, especially, it's funny, isn't it? And you would know this very well, that they're hype sellers rather than they're not actually that good at what they do. Would you say that's the same for yourself?
I think it's a mix. There's definitely the hype sellers, but I think there's also most people treat it as a volume business, the agency model, and so they try to get as many clients as possible. And so I guess you can't have one person managing 100, 200 clients or whatever it might be, even 50, 80, and then doing as good of a job as, say, someone that takes on 10, 15, 20. Do you know what I mean? You cannot compare the two because there's only so many hours in a day. And I guess also a lot of these agencies are doing 100 different things. And so they can't be good at all of them, unfortunately. And so that's why I've kind of tried to stick to one thing, gung-ho. And as you know, I'm like with everyone in the online space, I've tried lots of different things. You have as well. Pretty much everyone has, right? And you kind of work your way through it. But I find the moment you pick something, go gung-ho, you see the results, don't you? Like you pick one kind of avenue, you master it, and whether it be e-commerce or whatever it is. And I think that's what those agencies lack.
Yeah, because you were previously doing lead generation, weren't you? So now you focus more on e-commerce because lower margins, and it's probably just more enjoyable.
It's far more enjoyable. I find the clients are better quality clients for the most part. They're willing to invest in marketing, which a lot of lead generation people see it as an expense. I think e-commerce sees it as a necessity and an investment. I think that's the main difference.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
One of the questions I wanted to ask you, Nick, is as a Google Ads specialist, what would you say to beginners looking to use Google Ads for their e-commerce, let's say dropshipping or an existing brand? What would be what you would say to them?
Yeah, so obviously I see day in, day out, people ask the same sort of questions. And I think for the most part, I think people have a fear of just jumping in and testing it. You just need to jump in and have a go. You know, if you don't do that and you sit there asking 2,000 questions every day, watching every video under the sun, you're not going to learn it. The only way to learn it is to jump in and have a go. That is literally the best piece of advice, because if you don't do that, you're not going to know. And I see so many people going, you know, if I make this one minor change, will it change my performance? And it's like, if you don't have a good store, if you don't have, if you haven't got everything set up correctly, making one minor change is not going to change your campaign. So, and it's just not. And I think people have this, you know, the other one is set expectations to be realistic. I think people think they're going to put $1 in, and somewhere down the track you're going to get $1 million, and it just does not work like that.
So on that note, what would you like, as someone that personally done a lot of Google myself, and I love Google like yourself?
Yep.
The biggest thing that we both know with Google is, you know, as you said, you can't just on $2 expect that straight out the gate. Even with Facebook now, we don't really see that, of course. What would you say to people looking to get into Google? What type of budget you would recommend?
Look, I think if you're a beginner, $20 to $50 a day is an okay start. I think me preferably, I would prefer people to do $50 to $100 per day. That would be my suggestion. And even then, like at the moment, I'm looking at, you know, accounts at a minimum of, you know, 2,000 to 3,000 minimum per day. Otherwise, they're just not getting, especially in the US, like you've got to understand how much, I think people can't visualize the amount of search volume that goes on. It's very hard to visualize, you know, millions and millions, there's billions of searches that are happening per day. So how can you expect $1 to capture it?
I think I read that at one point that a report that Google said that every day there was 2.6 billion searches every day.
It's in the billions, yeah. So it sounds about right. And I think from memory, I can't remember what it was. I think it's like 20 or 30% of searches every day are unique. So there's always
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a huge number of unique searches per day, so that Google's never seen before, basically. And that might just be a small change in the variation. But one thing I've noticed with COVID is there's a big change in how people are searching. And so before, you know, near me, so let's say sporting goods store near me used to get searched a lot, right? Where that is in a downtrend, but sporting goods store online is in a massive uptrend. So, you know, we're all playing in a space that's definitely growing, and COVID has accelerated that. Yeah,
it really has, hasn't it? It's a very interesting thing. And when you said $20 to $50 a day, I assume that you're referring to a Google shopping campaign. Is that correct? Or would you say search?
Yeah, definitely. So if I was a beginner, I would be sticking to shopping. And then once you start to see some search terms converting, and, you know, if you have, I know people like to jump in and they've got a few, you know, 3-4 conversions, jump in and start a search campaign. I'd recommend the more the better. So if you can have 50 conversions, you know, 100 conversions on one word, create a SKAG, a single keyword ad group, and just bid on that one single keyword, and also have bid on your own brand name. Everyone's scared to bid on their own brand name, but when people are seeing those fancy Google screenshots, most of the time they're seeing branded search campaigns.
I know.
For big brands.
That's what I've used to pitch my stuff too. I'm not going to lie.
I'm guilty of it as well. I'm guilty of it, but to be honest, if a client asks me, I can also break down for them. Here's my cold customers, here my targeting of new customers, and here's the remarketing. And I branch brand into remarketing realistically.
Yeah, so I personally find for remarketing for Google is pretty tough to penetrate, I'll be honest. I find it works well, like especially things like smart shopping, dynamic remarketing, it can work well. But I personally find, do you find the same thing? Like I personally find remarketing on Facebook works better if you're getting cold traffic from Google.
I would agree with you 100%. I think where you can do well remarketing is actually just using shopping for remarketing. So create a separate shopping campaign and only bid on, all visitors, purchasers, people that have added to cart. And then even if you want some similar audiences and stuff like that. So that's one thing I see pretty much no one really does.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, Nick. That's something that I'll be doing straight after this call, because I have not been doing it. So you just make some basic custom audiences of, anyone who's viewed your website, added to cart, potentially initiate checkout.
Yeah, spot on, all those things. And you can make them in both Facebook and in Google as well. So you can jump into Google Analytics or Google Ads dashboard, create audiences, and actually I've done that for quite a few campaigns. And for example, the business that I was just mentioning before, they were getting around a 2 to 3x ROAS. It's a big business, so it's still, 3x, they were still making a fair bit of money. But I took it to a 9.7 just by implementing things like remarketing shopping, upping the spend on the branded search, and then actually a shopping bestsellers only campaign as well. So grabbing all, I think they probably had 20 products that just completely outperformed. I put those 20 products and bid far higher, and that campaign just, the return on ad spend on it was ridiculous. So especially the remarketing shopping campaign, I think does like a 14x ROAS or something like that. It's pretty amazing. And that's just a standard
shopping campaign with some custom audiences.
And it's the thing is you can't click observation. You've got to go targeting in the audience tab. So there's I think people stuff that up a lot and they just hit observation, and all that's going to do is just report on it. So it's not actually going to do anything. But if you click targeting, it's only going to target those audiences.
That's very interesting. And that's and I've already found a lot of value from this myself. That I'll be putting in place as well. Like it's just, it's always the funny thing is it's usually very small things that have, especially at a higher level, obviously very small things can have such a large outcome. Like I'll be definitely doing that as well straight after this call. I'm really excited for that. I should be taking pen and paper, but so thank you for that. And I hope that everyone really found that, that is really, really valuable stuff. Obviously those things I'm assuming things where you have to be having some consistent search volume already for your remarketing and that to really kick into place for your shopping and stuff as well, right?
Yeah, look, if you're not getting a few thousand visitors per day, it's probably not going to make a huge impact. Yeah, it's just more. It's one for those people that potentially doing really, really well on Facebook already, and they want to add maybe 20, 30, 40, 50% additional sales. If they just implement small things like that, they can see that 20% increase, 30% increase really, really quickly by just doing that. I mean, for someone just starting out, if we're just speaking to them, my recommendation would be is actually just literally create one campaign, bid really, really low. So you're not going to be wasting your money, and then slowly start to find products that are doing well. Either put them into a bestseller campaign or into one of their own campaigns. Now I'm finding that single product campaigns on Google are becoming more sporadic, the performance, but I still find them to be the easiest way to scale because you can control the negative keywords, you can control the bidding and more to that specific product. Mm-hmm. And then, I mean, if you wanted to keep it really, really basic, you can use smart shopping. I think pretty much most beginners, it's probably the easiest route. I tend to overcomplicate it, and I prefer using non-smart personally, just because I'm able to outperform it most of the time. But if you've got a big catalog, I definitely recommend smart shopping for bigger catalogs. It takes out a lot of that manual work. So that would be my recommendation, beginners: bid low and slowly scale. Be patient.
Yeah, I was about to say, so generally with Google, obviously one of the questions people are going to have is how long should I be expecting to see results? Yeah. Obviously that's very different per person. What would you say to people that ask that question?
I actually would really like it if everyone just let their campaign run for 30 days. You know what I mean? If they let their campaign run for 30 days, they're going to get a much better gauge because, people's search volume, you got to remember there's someone on the other end of the computer physically typing something in. I think people have a disconnect with that. So, but I mean, most of the time, if a product's going to do well, it's probably going to do well within the first few days, to be fair.
Yep. Yeah,
the first few days you're going to know, but I mean, if you want a good gauge in terms of the actual real performance of potential, let it run for a week. let it run for 2 weeks, give it a bit of time, because I find Google, the longer you let that algorithm do its thing, the better it does. But a winning, I guess a traditional winning product, which I don't really like using that phrase, because anything could be a winning product on Google realistically. If you're selling Rode microphones or anything could become, like it could be.
That's what I love about Google, especially compared to Facebook, is like, I love Facebook and I still use Facebook, and I know obviously you do too.
Definitely.
But the thing with Google is that people, and this is something for everyone, is Google, you can literally sell anything. Like, that's what Google is designed for. It's a infinite, people can absolutely sell, well, unless it's obviously illegal stuff, but Google, you can sell anything, and it's just a matter of having your back end proper. Like, the worst thing, I'm sure you see this all the time with people, is what would you say to people getting started in Google? Like, that you can't just run straight away a shopping campaign. You have to set up the back end, like your merchant center and that.
Yeah, definitely. So all that is super important. And if you don't have a good quality feed and you're using either, invest in a decent app for it. They're not that expensive. The free Google, spot on. But the free version, I know everyone's like, oh, it's free, it's great. It does the job. But if you're serious about it, actually optimizing that feed is so tedious with that free app. Like, to the point where if someone has that and approaches me to do work on their store, I won't even work on it, because it's too tedious. I will, but the price is going to be 10 times more, because it's just going to take far more time.
So what app
and
do you
energy.
Recommend?
The SimProcess one's very good. Exactly. It's so good for the price. It definitely has room for improvement, and something like a data feed watch for someone that's taking it really serious is a good one. But I mean, for 90% of the stuff I would do, even for me, the SimProcess one does the job.
Yep. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. And it really takes a lot of the hard work out of it. And for those wondering as well, it doesn't just do Google ads, it can also do Bing ads as well. I know, and
Facebook, and your Facebook, dynamic feed, yep.
And for it's like $6 a month or something like that.
Yeah, $6, that's nothing.
Not even worth thinking about, in my opinion.
No.
I don't mean any disrespect to anyone who's watching this. So Nick, I wanted to ask anyway, is like, always like to ask is, as entrepreneurs, we generally talk about the good side of building any type of business, whether it's an agency, e-commerce business, whatever. What would you say is the worst part about being an entrepreneur from your perspective?
I think there's a few. I think, loneliness can be a big one that not a lot of people talk about. I think it is a lonely, I guess, profession. You're on your own pretty much most of the time. So if you don't like that, then you may not like being an entrepreneur realistically. There's obviously lots of things you can do to change that. And, working at places like I'm working at, the co-working space, obviously there's more people around, and you can have people to bounce ideas off. But you just find yourself someone you can chat with. Like, we've chatted, I've got plenty, I'm sure you speak to a lot of other people as well, to bounce ideas off, do stuff like that to keep yourself motivated and stimulated. And I guess the other one leading into the next one is finding motivation once you actually start doing well is a hard one. Once you start doing well, keeping that motivation and momentum going is a tough one. And just not giving up. I think most people just give up too soon, I think, is the simplest. Best bit of advice is don't give up.
So what would you say? If I went to you and said, hey, I'm doing a lot of Facebook ads and why should I do Google ads over Facebook ads?
Yeah, sure. So I think it's, you go where the buyers are, and people are typing buy Rode mic NT into Google. And if you have something there that's easy for them to buy, they're going to do it pretty quickly because that person has buying intent. When I'm scrolling through Facebook, for the most part, I'm going to be honest, I don't think I've bought much off a Facebook ad.
I haven't bought anything. I intentionally don't buy anything.
Exactly. Yeah. But I bought a lot of stuff off Google, and I know obviously that's just me, but go where the buyers are. The buyers are on Google. Google is, what people don't realize, I think, is that Google is taking on Amazon. That's what they're trying to do with a lot of their moves. They're moving shopping actions where you can have a cart that follows you around different sellers and groups those products together. You buy, and that's their answer to Amazon. So go where the buyers are, and if you can master Google, that you don't have to choose one or the other. You can do both. I would never advocate that someone just does one or just does the other. I think especially as you grow, use both. Why not? Pinterest, YouTube, there's so many different things you can do.
The reason I love Pinterest too, by the way. Anyway, but the reason I guess I asked that, Nick, is as we both know, and we've had very detailed discussions about this, most of the community, obviously this is starting to shift, but most of the community, it's all about Facebook ads. Now, I personally have been very much, Facebook is really good to start off with, but then when you have all these campaigns, it's a mess. It is, personally, I think it confuses the hell out of me. And it feels like I'm constantly just having to monitor it every 5 seconds. And I personally hate that. And that's why, I know why you love Google and why I love Google. So what would you say to people where they're like, that their world is Facebook ads and that, all of a sudden they're being exposed to Google ads? Why should they start using more Google ads, potentially more Google ads than even Facebook ads, in your opinion? Do you see larger margins, more consistency?
I think the once the setup is more tedious with Google, so you probably need to spend a bit more time setting it up. But once you set it up, the actual management side is far easier and simpler. Once you overcome I guess people get a little scared of the dashboard in Google, but to me, Google is a dashboard built for advertisers, where Facebook is a dashboard built by someone with someone's just grabbed a pen and scribbled, and that's where Google's like, that's a proper dashboard. You know what I mean? Like it's usable, it's user friendly, everything's quite easy to do. Just don't overcomplicate it.
Do you so on a different question, I just have to ask this. Do you find with Facebook that your dashboard just crashes and just lags out?
It's horrible. It's horrible.
I never have that with Google. Like I personally never have that. And that's what I love is for people out there, as Nick just said, once the annoying part with Google is initially getting set up. Once you set up, obviously you're going to look at your campaigns and stuff, but for the most part, you might. I've left mine for a week and I come back and I'm like, yep, cool, I'll do some changes.
I actually recommend people only check it weekly, to be honest.
Every week, so every 7 days.
I would recommend. I mean, unless you're spending huge sums of money, I think every week is more than enough. And then do a deeper dive once a month. You know what I mean? Like a weekly check, deeper dive once a month.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Well,
that would be my recommendation. Yeah.
I generally check once a week in that as well. And as I said, I'm straight after this doing the shopping hacks that you just gave me, and I think it is just super valuable. The other thing I wanted to say as well is obviously Google Ads owns YouTube. Do you do YouTube ads as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think for people to kind of ease themselves into it, the easiest way is to just start remarketing on YouTube. Do you know what I mean? That's the easiest way is literally just start remarketing.
Sorry,
both. Yeah. So you can choose the YouTube objective YouTube shopping ad, which is kind of both. You use video and then the little shopping feed will pop up below. That's a good start. If you just want to use that just for remarketing, not a bad way to start. Otherwise, if you have video, add that. But I mean, worst case, just click the in the settings of your shopping campaign to be shown on YouTube as well. You could do that. That's a start as well. At least your product's going to pop up. Yep. And to be honest, YouTube, the Google algorithm, especially in YouTube, is smart. Like yesterday, I was looking around with a client at some heavy machinery. So heavy machinery, just Googling around. And then for the next 6 hours, I was just getting heavy machinery ads on YouTube. Do you know what I mean? So it's pretty smart, and it knows really quickly, who to show. So if someone's, if you're using custom intent audiences and affinity audiences in there, overlaid with something else, it's going to pick up who to show it to really quickly.
I'll be honest, I do YouTube ads myself in that, and I personally find that custom affinity and custom intent layered with a keyword for me.
Yeah, spot on. Yeah.
The people searching for that keyword, plus they've shown some form of interest based on whatever the intent is. Yeah. Does that work well for you too?
Yeah. So with YouTube, I always recommend minimum 2 different types of targeting overlaid, whether it be, an audience and keyword, an audience and specific video or channel, if there's a channel, or a specific video that does really well. And three is even better. I mean, it's pretty, if you overlay 3 different things, even better. But yeah, definitely more than one. You can't just do demographics or something like that.
Yeah, I've tried just one because I was just trying advice and I found it failed. With Google, it generally works better. So you recommend at least 2 to 3?
Yeah, 2's fine. 3's 3, if you're experienced, try 3 and see. You might be limiting yourself too much, but 2 is definitely a must.
Yeah. Beautiful. Oh, well, that's really good advice. I hope everyone enjoyed that anyway. One of the things I wanted to ask you, Nik, is if you were to start over today, what would you do?
I think this is going to sound cliche, but it literally would be to start sooner, quit my full-time job sooner, and just dive in the deep end sooner. That literally would be, because I knew from a very young age that I wanted to work for myself. I went through law school and got a business and law degree, and then did work experience in a law firm, and then all different companies. But I did get to go to China multiple times a year and source products and worked within marketing and stuff. But, I knew the whole time I wanted to be in the e-commerce space and marketing from the get-go. So I should have just done it sooner. I just should have jumped in. But that's my personality. I don't think that's for everyone. Some people need to ease themselves in. My personality was, jump in, do it. Even if it's half done, it's better to be done than, it doesn't need to be perfect is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, well, I'll be honest. I look at it the same, that I've always hated having personally like that boss figure over your face, but I never really did anything about it. And if I look back, I think, man, I should have just, rather than playing Halo or watching shows, I should have just tried to educate myself as well.
Definitely.
And so, yeah, like that's a very relatable thing. And the fact that, how long have you been doing this now, Nik? Like working for yourself, I should say explicitly.
So I quit my full-time job in 2017, but I was working part-time in the space for 2 and a bit years before that. So was just over 5 years in total, I guess. Yeah. And then full-time for getting close to 3 years. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, that's awesome. It's always very good to see that as well. Like it's a very tough journey, but like what you said as well, you're best to put your foot in the ring and stuff up 100 times than never put your foot in the ring and never know.
Definitely.
One thing that I'm very passionate about now that I say to people is people get afraid of difficult and hard things. And I get that. But I always say to people, and I want to get your advice on this too, say to people, well, remember, it's the difficult and hard things is where the money lies. Like the harder something is, the less people are going to do it. It means that for the people that will do it, they're going to make a lot more money. And
definitely.
Would you agree with that sort of approach, philosophy?
It's definitely, you're always taught to color within the lines, right? At school, you're taught, color inside these lines, don't go outside of them. And it's how we're brought up. We're brought up to follow certain rules, do certain things a certain way. And we're constantly, what was the statistic that I read? It's like you're told the word no, like 1,000 times more than the word yes to things in your life. So, and even at a young age, that actually changes the way you think. So a lot of it is, you do need to change the way you think. And if you are too comfortable in something, it probably means you're not going to do too well. I find myself getting comfortable constantly, and I have to keep kicking myself in the bum to go, okay, Nik, you've got to do this. I know you don't want to, just do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest with you, Nik, I'll be perfectly transparent with everyone. Like I said to Nik that we should have this interview a while ago, and I was lazy, and I apologize for that, Nik.
That's all right, man.
But it's all the same here as well. And that's why I hope that everyone's taken a lot from this. I personally genuinely am excited to jump into Google Ads just to do exactly what you said. Because I get very competitive. Are you a competitive person by nature where you like to?
Oh, mate.
Yeah.
I like the whole, what is it from, is it Talladega Nights? If you're not first, you're last. You know what I mean? Exactly. I like being first, man. I don't like being last or second or third. No, I love being first.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
It's a good trait, I think.
Well, it is, and that's where I like these as well. Like just by being on this call has motivated me to jump into just Google and do that simple remarketing, look more into my YouTube. And the good thing with each of those that I love as well is that for those who haven't done YouTube ads, don't fret as well. Like it's literally the exact same as running any other Google campaign pretty much. Except you just add literally a link to a YouTube video. Couldn't be any easier. So if you're worried about that, then I wouldn't be. But what I wanted to sort of ask you, Nik, is from your experience, obviously being Google is very different to Facebook. What would you say are the best niches that you've experienced on Google to date?
So right now, the things that are growing the biggest are home, anything to do with home and garden. They're the two most growing, and any data out of Google confirms it as well. Anything in the home space, anything in the home and garden, DIY, anything you can do at home right now, that is the industry that's growing.
So let me refine that question a bit further. Sorry. So obviously in COVID right now, so that's a fantastic answer for that one. What would you say outside? Let's say next year, after most of this is blown away, we're back to a bit of a more normal lifestyle. What would you expect would be popular niches? And obviously, I imagine the same, but some more.
It definitely is still the same, and I still think home fitness is another one it is going to stay. And to be honest, that's been in an upward trend for a long time. Home and garden's always a good one on Google because, people do stay at home for a big portion of their lives. So I really like when I do research into products and stuff to literally just map out what do people do. People are at home more. They're Netflix and chilling, you know what I mean? Like they're getting Uber Eats. People are at home more. So anything to do with the home, just look around your house. Go into a physical store, look around, see what they're selling, and you can sell that stuff on Google.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like we're very taught that a winning product has they're all designed for Facebook. But I actually find Facebook has a lot of limitations to what products you can sell compared to Google as well. And like what you said there,
far more.
I've seen businesses that have their entire business around selling bolts and fasteners, and they sell a ton of them, and you could never sell it on Facebook as an example. I'm not sure if you've dealt with a business like that personally, but
definitely, yeah. I was speaking to someone the other day that sells they've never been busier selling garden beds for the house, and they literally build garden beds and ship them out online, like the actual planter boxes and stuff like that people do gardening. Yeah, and they sell it all on Google Shopping. Yeah.
Simple as that, and they make good money. And at the end of the day, as long as you're making enough money to pay your bills, everyone wins.
I think they're doing more than that. Like they're doing really well out of it. Yeah, out of that simple product. Yeah,
that's awesome. So I wanted to ask as well, what are your goals over the next 12, 24 to 36 months for let's say your own e-commerce business, your own personal brand, agency? Yeah. What would be your goal?
Yeah, no, for sure. So I think personal brand is something that I've always lacked and not done well in. So that's definitely improved my, congruency and consistency across multiple channels. I'm not people that see me on one channel probably don't recognize it on another. So personal branding is a really important one. And I think anyone can build a personal brand. You don't have to be a Kevin David or one of these Lamborghini people. Like, I mean, it's just being...
No offense. I'm going to have to... what part of the video is this? Because I'm going to have to actually blur that out. Apparently his name is copyrighted.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, I'm not. If you're watching this, I'm going to go. Anyway, but So, no, I know what you mean. So what would you actually say on that note? I was legit. I love our conversations, Nick. I love them. What would you say to people that the other channels that are nowhere near as big as yours, or our channels are small fish compared to this? What do you say to people that look at these channels and then see the sports cars, the mansions, the beach, and that? Do you personally follow these people? Do you recommend or not?
In absolutely no way, shape, or form do I want to be associated with them at all. Yeah, sure. I feel like if that's what you're wanting, you probably need to look at your situation in life. And it's all well and good to aim high and have nice things and nice cars, but I get more impressed by someone that buys a crappy house and does it up. You know what I mean? They've actually bought that house. Most of these people are renting places, Airbnb-ing them for one day, doing a photo shoot, and that's it. So be very, very careful as to who you're following. And I mean, content normally speaks for itself. If someone's being open and honest with you, having, actual real conversations and not fluff, I think follow the decent content that actually has no hype to it. The more hype something has, probably the less likely it is to give you any actionable information. Yeah,
I always say to people, if someone is flashing a sports car, a mansion or whatever, it's usually to mask the fact that they know shit all. And I mean that very honestly.
For sure. You or I could go and, hire a Lamborghini for a day, do a photo shoot, and, our channels probably would be 10 times bigger. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's silly. Like,
It is, but it's a funny thing, Nick. Just honestly, that you say that we want to grow our personal brand, and I do too, of course. And like anyone in this space, and so it's marketers. You sort of think, should I put aside my personal opinion? Because the reality is, a lot of these are like props. The mansion is a prop, the car. But personally, I think that you and I just have a very strong moral standing on that, like I look at that as a good thing, and I'm starting to see an increase in the community of that as well, which personally
look,
is very nice.
I studied law, right? So I can tell you in Australia, what they're doing is technically illegal. It's misleading and deceptive conduct is what it is.
Is it?
Realistically. Yeah, it's misleading and deceptive conduct. It's not, they're portraying something that's, if it's not true, so if they've gone and hired it and they're acting like it's theirs, to me, it's misleading. It's misleading people. Whether or not a court would find that, don't know.
It's a bit of a grey zone, isn't it? It's an interesting thing. It's a real grey zone.
You put it this way, do you see any huge companies doing that? Not really.
Exactly. That's what I say. Like, you look at some of the richest people in the world. Do they flash any of that? No, they're just incredibly focused on their business. And that's what I always, would you recommend that to people? Like, I presume, obviously with your agency, obviously your own businesses and that as well. The people, I'm just curious, the people you work with, I imagine they couldn't care less about the sports side. They couldn't care less about that. They just purely care about money coming in and money coming out. Is that right?
Definitely. Look. Some of them love their sports cars. Some of them own racing teams that I know. They actually literally own a racing team. Wow. But the difference is that they're quite old, most of them, and they've lived their life being quite frugal. And I'm not saying enjoy yourself, enjoy your money. I'm not saying not to. I'm just saying that there's a lot more to life, and I think you find that most of these people that do that end up feeling quite hollow towards the end anyway. They don't actually enjoy their life. Have fun. Go and have experiences, travel, do whatever makes you happy, realistically. But be careful.
What would you say, let's say that someone's trying to build an e-commerce business, let's say right now. How long do you define for an e-commerce business to be around before you define it as a business? Like, to me, I define, like, if someone starts an e-commerce business today, I just define them personally as just another website in the sea of websites.
100%.
Personally, I look at it as a 6-12 month thing before you have a proper business, in my opinion.
12 months, 18 months. I mean, someone that's been doing it that long, that's when you're starting to talk, because otherwise it's like you're on a fad. And there's lots of people that do still make good money having stores, seasonal stores, things like that. Like, I'm not saying you can't make money, but you don't have a business as such. No, and it's like it's also it's not fun either. Do you know what I mean? No. Like, you can do it for a little while, and you can give it a crack. 6 months, 12 months, a year. 18 months. But after that, it starts to get old, and we were both in that phase at one point, and we aim for more consistency, and that's kind of why I ended up at Google. Yeah. I'm
just thinking of all our conversations, Nick. They always crack me up, and you always cheer me up. But yeah, because like that's what I was going to say. Like, I like to be very vocal about the fact I hate making stores in that regard and all that. It's very repetitious. I like to build something, do it right, and then leave it and focus on just growth of a business. And so what would you say to people? Like, do you recommend to people to have like, a lot of people come to me and they say, I've got like 5-6 stores, and I'm like, that's a lot of stores. Like, what would you recommend to people? How many stores that people should really have to focus on and drive a real business?
I think it depends, like, because I advise quite a few people and take small ownership stakes for, I guess, as a marketing partner, and you can do that at quite large scale because I guess you're not physically doing the work there, so that's a little bit different. But if you're physically doing the work across all those 5 stores and have no automation in place, and you cannot be doing a good job of them. I mean, if you have more than, say, even 2, maybe 3, but I think unless, I would say do one really well, automate as much as you can, because you can automate a lot in the process, and you're obviously a big advocate of that. Automate as much as you can. Yeah, and then like move on to the next one sort of halfway through that process, you know what I mean? Don't overload yourself, because burnout's not fun.
No, I've been there, done that. It's crap.
Yeah.
Because like personally how I approach it is like that I'd prefer to invest heavily in a business, because as I said, like one thing that I just want to make everyone aware of is that any business can be successful. It's just a matter of when. Like, and anyone can get sales. It just usually takes time for that to lead to profitable income. And
yeah, definitely.
I personally recommend to people that, I would prefer focusing on a single business for 6 months, iron out all the issues, build a team, get automations, because you're going to make a lot of fuck ups. Let's be honest. You're going to make a lot of fuck ups.
For sure.
And then after 6 months, once you've built the business, you've got a team, even if it's like 5 people, let's say, then you build another, because you'll have something that's providing you consistent income, and then you're just providing another income, and then you keep doing that. One thing I constantly see is people, like, for a week they'll try this store and then they'll stop, and then it'll just be like, that's nowhere near enough time to even give it time to get some form of result, is it?
No, not at all. I mean, you've just got to think back to not even that long ago. To start a business, you needed to go and rent out a space, buy inventory, deck it out, hand out flyers, tell everyone about it, jump on your megaphone outside and shout at people in the street. So, we've come a long way, but at the same time, you've got to be realistic about how long it's going to take to do something well.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all of that, man. Like, I absolutely love these conversations. I could speak to you all day about all of this. And I apologize to everyone who's watching if I'm probably getting a bit off topic. It's just that I really enjoy talking to Nik. And I hope you all have very much enjoyed that too. Now, Nik, I wanted to ask as a last question, what would be your number one key bit of advice that you would have to everyone, regardless of their journey, moving on into the future? What do you see as the future as well? Give me all your advice on that. Yeah,
so I think
too many questions at once.
No, that's okay. So I think everyone that's listening to this is in the right space for growth. I think COVID-19 has accelerated that. So the move to online has never been faster. More people are spending more money online. So find something that you are relatively interested in, I think, is a big one. Try lots of things. Stick to them for a little while, but try different things. Certain parts of e-commerce are not for everyone. You might prefer the marketing. You might prefer videography. You know what I mean? Think about how you can also service the e-commerce industry. Like, if you've got really good video skills, why don't you start doing virtual reality or augmented reality videos of products for bigger businesses? You know what I mean? I'm sure there's a huge demand for that. Like, there's so many, what's the old phrase? Don't be the person mining the gold, sell people the pickaxes. Do you know what I mean? You can think about that as well. And you can do that with an online store as well, whether it's something digital, whether it's something to help the business. There's so many avenues. Just give it a try, stick to it, and you're going to find something eventually is going to stick.
Yep. Beautiful. I absolutely love that, Nik. So motivational. So for those, again, I just want to reiterate, I just wanted to say again, Nik, I don't know how long it's been, but geez, time goes by quick when I'm talking to you. Anyway, but I just wanted to genuinely say thank you so much. I got so much value out of this personally myself. I'm so jealous of your skills in that field right now. Awesome stuff. And so for those who are interested, there are links in the description below for Nik's channel. I'm also going to put Nik's, if you'll find Nik as well, I'm going to put your Instagram as well as your Facebook group. As well to obviously, because he has a fantastic group, and Nik helps so many people. In my opinion, I see his comments. He helps in his free groups way too much, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. I've definitely toned it back a little bit, just because it's, as it goes, there's just too many questions, unfortunately. And a lot of my videos answer the questions too, just like I'm sure you get as well. So that'd be one parting note for people is if you cannot do a simple task as simple as going and searching through someone's videos, it's not nice. Do you know what I mean? Like, just go have a look through there, watch some, It's not that hard.
No, it's not. And if you want to be successful on Google, get used to you actually Googling things. Take
Google things. Yeah.
The first key advice there is if you're ever unsure, literally type it in Google. You're probably not going to get the perfect answer, but you're going to get a ballpark figure.
For sure.
And that's obviously the best way to learn. That to me is how I personally learn. If I don't know something, I'll just Google it, and then I'll get a ballpark figure, and you work from there. Always
definitely
learning, right? So if the links are in the description below, guys, check him out. Nik is fantastic. He's a fellow Aussie. No BS, no fluff. You can see he's highly, highly skilled in his field. Help plenty of people across the world, and will definitely be able to help you as well. Nik, it has been an absolute pleasure, and I do appreciate your time you've taken to talk to me today. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you very much.
Oh, thanks so much, man. It's been a pleasure. And time has really flown, hasn't it?
Well, for me, it's lunchtime. I'm hungry.
Yeah, me too, mate.
Oh, yeah, you're in the same time. I keep thinking for some... No, are you half an hour behind?
No, so we're now the same time zone. I think April it changed. We do have an hour difference during summer. Yeah, but I think it switches over in April.
You can tell how much I get out, Nick. So I don't Anyway, thank you so much, Nick. I do genuinely appreciate it. And everyone, be sure to follow his stuff. You're going to learn an absolute butt ton from him, just like I have. So thank you so much for your time. Have a lovely day. Take care. Goodbye. And that concludes today's video, everyone. I hope you did enjoy this content. I personally enjoyed this interview. It was so valuable for me. I've already started going into my businesses and that as well to already put in a number of his secret hacks that he revealed. And that is absolutely amazing stuff. Okay, guys. And I recommend you do the same. So if you did enjoy this, comment that down below if you want more of these. I'm very picky with who I get on the show. I only want to get on people that I genuinely respect and follow myself, and Nick is definitely one of them. So you should check in the description as well for links to his YouTube channel, to his Facebook group. The guy is an absolute gun when it comes to Google Ads and just marketing in general, but obviously very focused on Google Ads. Okay, if you did enjoy it as well, please be sure to subscribe, hit that like button to help with the growth of my channel. I very much appreciate that, and I hope you all have a lovely day. I hope you take care, and goodbye.